Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Michael Kelly. I'm a technical sales engineer at Esri Ireland. And welcome to everyone to today's webinar. I'm delighted to be joined by Alex here from Leica Geosystems. Many thanks to Alex for joining us, and hopefully it'll be the first of many. Some of you may have noticed that Esri Ireland have recently partnered with Leica, and hence the reason for this webinar. Both of our organisations strongly value the application of location to better inform decision making, with Esri enabling this through software and services, and Leica enabling this through hardware. I'm now going to pass you over to Alex, who's going to run you through today's schedule.
Thanks very much, Mikey. It's great to be with you in Dublin today. Just going to give you a quick whiz through the agenda. So Mikey's going to kick off by giving us a quick introduction to Collector for ArcGIS. Then he's going to go through some of the specifics on field collection using Collector. Then I'm going to move on to talking about Zeno Collector. So that's using the Leica hardware with the Esri software, and talking a little bit about positioning services and how we can get some really accurate measurements using the handheld device. Then Mikey's going to go on to talk about setting up data schemas for Collector using ArcGIS Online. And then we're going to have a bit of a wrap-up and some questions and answers at the end. So I'll hand over to Mikey now, and we'll kick us off with Collector.
Great, thanks Alex. So I'm going to just turn off this webcam, and I'm going to share my screen. So hopefully you'll see that now in a minute. Yeah, so you should see my screen now. And I'm just on the Collector website. So if you see the web address there, it's just esri.com/products/collector for ArcGIS. And I just want to briefly speak about Collector and what you can use it for. So firstly, I just want to give you a brief introduction from an Esri perspective, because I understand a lot of you may be more familiar with Leica. So Esri are a software and services organisation specialising in the application of geographic information systems, or GIS. GIS is based on the simple principle of attaching a location to every piece of data. We help customers record where things happen and analyse why, to give business insight on how to make better decisions. A Collector is one of our field collection apps, which helps our customers record where things happen. And you'll see a screenshot there of the website, and that's a screenshot of the Collector app. Collector gives you the ability to collect and update data in the field. This can include pictures, videos, text, numbers, whatever kind of attributes you need. And it'll update this information live so that people back in the office can see your changes in real time. You have the ability to work offline, as many of you are well aware. You know, we don't have internet everywhere, and it can be very frustrating trying to get an internet connection when you're in one of these areas. And so Collector can work offline. So this allows you to go offline, completely offline. It'll download your base maps and your data schemas and your data, and you can update these in the field, come back into the office and sync with your ArcGIS Online account. Your current location can also be tracked. So this is based on, once you have Collector open, your current location can be tracked, and we'll have a look at this later. We've had something set up for the last while between myself and Alex, and it's been tracking our location, and it was quite interesting to look at some of the results of that. It's available on iOS, Android and Windows. I'll be running through today's webinar on iOS, but on the Zeno Collector side of things, it's actually Android. So you might notice some slight differences there. Now, they both have the same functionality, but they might display in slightly different ways. Now you can see that so Collector also can connect up to external receivers, and Zeno Collector helps with really getting accurate locations when you're gathering some of your data. And it integrates with other Esri apps such as Workforce, Survey 123, Navigator and Operations Dashboard. So these are just different apps that you can view data through that give you different workflows. So what I'm going to do now is just give you a quick look at Collector. So I'm going to share my screen here, and I'll show you Collector on my iPhone. So I've downloaded Collector from the Apple App Store, and this is what appears when I open the home screen. So you'll notice you can log in with ArcGIS Online if you have an account, and this is our software as a service offering. You also have Portal for ArcGIS Online, and this is essentially an on-premise version of ArcGIS Online, so you'd have it hosted in your own infrastructure. Now what I'm going to show you now is I'm going to click the try it down the bottom, and this will just give you an idea of what Collector is like to use. And anyone here can try this out. You can download Collector from the App Store and just try it out, and without signing up to anything, you can just look at what it looks and feels like to use. So I'm going to use the top one here. Esri have a couple of different maps here that they've set up that people can use, and you can click in to see details on the map. So I just clicked the I button at the bottom of the damage assessment survey map, and it gives me further details on that. But I'm going to click it now and open that specific map, and you'll notice it is zoomed to my current location. So I'm out in the Navan Road at the Esri Ireland offices, and so you can see the accuracy there as well, the blue line around the circle. So from here you can add data. So if I click the plus sign in the middle of the top screen, I can click that and it'll allow me to collect a new feature. So in this case I'm collecting, it's a damage assessment survey, and it's looking for damage to residential buildings. So I'm going to say there's been minor damage to our building here at Esri Ireland. I'm going to put in my contact name. So Michael, can't spell my own name. Okay. My second name, and I'll say the primary cause of the damage. So I'll say let's say there's been a flood here to our buildings. And what I'm going to do as well is collect a picture. So you see the button up there. It looks like a camera. I'm just going to click on that, add an attachment, and I can take a video or a picture here. I'm going to take a picture and use that photo. Click done, and I can change the location if I click the map button in the middle of the screen as well. So it's the middle top, and I can move that to exactly where our building here is here in Esri Ireland. So once I'm happy with that, I can click submit, and that will add it to the database, the point database that has been created for this. So I can look at that through a web browser, and in this case I have an operations dashboard set up. So you can see here that this minor flood, this is what I'm just after putting in. So there's been 2 points added in since. Now this is a public data set that anyone can add data to, so it's just used for collector trials. But you can see my data has been added in there, and if I click into that, I can see the different attributes that I've added, as well as the picture that I just took. Now there's a couple of different options in here. You can see the search option just at the top right there. Now let me just open up the screen again. So there's a search bar up here in the top right, just beside the more, to the left of more. If I go into that, I can search attributes within any of the data that has been collected. So in this case, I know that 1347 is going to return some results. So I'm going to click into that and click search. That'll search through all the data that that's associated with this these points, and you can see 21 results have been returned. So I can pick the one that's relevant to me. I can click the arrow to the left of it, and I can edit that. I can copy it. I can delete it. In this case, I'm just going to show details, and you can see the name and the incident number, which is, so the incident number is what has been searched. It's 1347. And you can add in any other attributes that you want. I'm going to just change the cause of damage. But in this case, I'm just in view mode, so I have to click in the top right hand corner and edit this data. And now I'll be able to click on any of the attributes and update them. There's a couple of options then. If you click more, you're able to change the base maps that are behind these points. So if I click into the base map option, I can view the imagery. I can change it to whatever kind of imagery I want, OpenStreetMaps. If I want to put in my own custom base maps, I can do that as well. And you can publish them in ArcGIS online, and they can be added into this exact same view. In this case, I'm just going to leave it as it is and show you some of the other options. Another tool is the measure tool, and so this is obviously where you can measure. So if I click into that, and let's say I just want to measure the length of this park, if I press and hold, I can get a better location. And do the same at the top. And so I know the length of that that park is about 0.4 kilometers long. I can also do the same for areas. So if I want to measure the area of that park, I can do the same thing, and it'll give me the square kilometer area of that. You can also undo and various things like that and use your current location. But in this case, because I'm in the UK, because this area is in the US, I'm not going to use my current location. So you might want to use different, you can obviously change between Imperial and Metric as well if you want to show it in square miles or whatever kind of form you want to see it in. You can also look at the layers in this particular map. Now in this case it's just the one layer, but in many cases you might have more than one layer that you might want to turn off. So if I want to turn this off, we won't see any points, and I can go and turn it back on if I want, and there's all our points appear again. And another quite handy feature is to use the bookmarks. So to the left here we have the bookmarks. If I click into that, you can have specific extents for any location stored in your bookmarks. And if I click into one of these, say the default map extent, it will zoom to that particular extent. You can also store your own local extents if you want. If I just click a point on the map, I can click just to the right of it and click add to my places, and this will add a new place. So this is a new bookmark, and I can return to this location at any time by just going to my bookmarks, and then at the bottom I click my places, and there's my bookmark. So you also have the option to navigate. Now in this case I'm not going to, but you see the directions through here. This can use another one of our apps called Navigator, which will give you directions to that location. It will send it to the app and it will direct you to that particular location. Or you can use directions within the Collector app itself. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly log in to my account. So we've been using the trial account that you can just try it with, but I'm going to log into my own account. So in this case, it's I'm just going to use my credentials. Just try and get my password right. Okay, we're in. So if I sign in now, you'll notice that I only have two maps. But one of the maps has a cloud beside it, and so that's because I've actually downloaded some of that map to my device. So you see at the top you have all and on device. If I click into on device, you can see that this particular map has been stored on the device itself. So this is the kind of view that you'll see if you're offline. So if I go into airplane mode here, I can still open this map and view all the points in it and update them. So I can edit some of these. I'll change this, just the category of this, and say add in another point here. So change the category and I'll put in my name and I'll submit that. So this has just been stored to the device, but I can go back then and you'll notice that there's a number 2 just above the cloud. So if I go back online, so I'm going to turn off my airplane mode, I can sync back my data that I've collected out in the field when I'm in offline mode. So if I sync that back now, this is going to sync back with my ArcGIS Online account. Now I'm just going to show you that we'll have updated here. Let me just get that particular map. That's actually the wrong map. So I'm just in a web browser here, and I'm going to zoom to the location where I updated those points, which is down by City West, and there's the point that I just added, the blue one. So my name is Mikey, and I put it in this category 4, and you can see the updates that I just made as well. Okay, so I think at this stage I'll pass it over to Alex, and he can go into more detail on the Zeno Collector side of things. So Alex, over to you.
Great, thanks very much, Mikey. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Alex Macdonald, and I'm a technical specialist for GIS asset collection and management at Leica Geosystems. I'd just like to say a special thank you to Mikey and the team at Esri Ireland for hosting this joint webinar. I hope it's the first of many. So for those of you who are not familiar with Leica Geosystems, we've been creating measurement and survey solutions for professionals across the globe for nearly 200 years. With our global headquarters and manufacturing facilities in Heerbrugg, Switzerland, Leica Geosystems is synonymous with the technology and instruments of the highest quality. Our UK and Ireland headquarters are based in Milton Keynes, England. This afternoon I'm going to introduce to you the Zeno Collector. This is a combination of the Leica Zeno 20 handheld device running Esri's collector for ArcGIS application. So there are 3 key elements to the Zeno Collector solution. First of all, we've got the hardware. The Leica Zeno 20 device runs on the Android operating system. This of course allows us to leverage Esri's collector app, but also gives you the added benefit of being able to use any other Android app on the device. Secondly, we've got the software. As we've already seen today, the collector app has the ability to synchronize with your ArcGIS online account to manage and store all your captured data. Leica Zeno Connect is the software running on Zeno Collector that allows the GNSS position to be streamed from the high accuracy antenna into collector app. We'll see Zeno Connect in action a little bit later. Finally, we have positioning services. SmartNet is Leica's real-time GNSS correction service for the UK and Ireland. SmartNet is the technology that allows us to achieve the amazing centimetre accurate position on board Zeno Collector. This service will be explained in further detail later on. So let's have a look at the overarching reasons to use Zeno Collector. We want to put high accuracy into the hands of all field workers. Zeno Collector is simple and intuitive, so you don't have to be a surveyor or a GIS specialist in order to use it. While you're there, data capture means that a field operative who is a specialist in his own line of work can capture highly accurate and attribute-rich geospatial information to supplement their everyday job. This form of data capture can also provide organisations with increased flexibility for the deployment of limited resources. Location-based analytics rely upon accurate and reliable data, and there is more and more demand for better location information to support enterprise decision support processes. Zeno Collector enables organisations to respond effectively to those demands by addressing data quality while on site. Increasingly, GIS users require more than a consumer smartphone or tablet can offer, such as the ergonomic benefits that come with a professional survey data capture device. As Zeno Collector contains a survey-grade GNSS receiver, this provides significantly higher positional accuracy than GPS receivers on smartphones and other handheld GIS devices on the market. Combining Collector for ArcGIS creates a more rugged and accurate solution for the demanding needs of organisations. So let's take a look at 5 key elements of the Zeno Collector hardware. So number 1, we've got simplicity. We live in a world where we have instant access to a mind-boggling array of data and services. Increasingly now, with the advent of smartphones and tablets, this access has been made much, much easier. We are impatient and demand that technology just works. Why should field data capture be any different? As Zeno Collector runs on the Android operating system, it is intuitive. Many of you will already own an Android smartphone or tablet. Even if you're an Apple iOS user, you will feel instantly at home with the look and feel of Zeno Collector. The software on board is easy to use, and keeping everything on the latest version is simple with updates over the air. You will also be able to use Esri Survey 123, Navigator and Workforce apps on the device to help maximise the efficiency of your workforce. The benefits of simplicity to organisations are there is hardly any training time and overheads involved with the learning to use Zeno Collector. Field workers will enjoy using the device and therefore be more productive. So secondly, we've got accuracy. When you use your smartphone or tablet's onboard GPS in perfect conditions, let's say on top of a hill with no obstructions and a clear view of the sky, you may expect to receive a positional accuracy of 5 meters or so. As soon as you move to an urban location or near to trees and other obstructions, the accuracy can decrease very quickly to 10 meters and more. When you are trying to position an asset on a map, this error could place the asset on the wrong side of the road, in the wrong parcel of land, for example, and therefore it is poor quality data for decision making. Zeno Collector has a built-in survey-grade dual-frequency GNSS receiver. GNSS stands for Global Navigation Satellite System and means that with Zeno Collector we can not only communicate with the American GPS satellites but also with the Russian system, which is called GLONASS. When the European system called Galileo comes online, Zeno Collector will be able to communicate with that too. Just last month, Galileo satellites numbers 13 and 14 were launched. When complete, there will be 30 Galileo satellites in orbit. The more satellites we are able to communicate with, the quicker we will be able to acquire a positional fix and be able to work in more areas. Using Zeno Collector, a single frequency on the antenna, and the GPS and GLONASS satellites, we can expect to achieve a positional accuracy of around 1 meter in good conditions. This method is also using a freely available satellite-based augmentation system, or SBAS, to enhance the accuracy. If we want to improve our accuracy further, we also have to augment the GNSS signals, commonly by using a mobile data connection. This is known as differential GNSS and will allow for a positional accuracy of 30 to 50 centimeters. Again, this is also using a single frequency on the antenna. In order to get down to accuracies of less than 30 centimeters, we need to use two frequencies on the antenna and also Leica's SmartNet system. Again, this system is augmenting the GNSS signals via a mobile data connection, and the process is referred to as networked RTK, or real-time kinematic. The benefit of highly accurate geospatial data is that organizations can perform better analysis and therefore make better decisions. Using SmartNet and other augmentation systems also allows the accuracy to be repeatable. You know that if you capture data to a couple of centimeters, you can repeat that accuracy at the same site at another time if you need to find the asset and inspect it, for example. High accuracy can also help meet regulatory requirements, particularly, for example, those operating in the utilities industry, paying agencies for the EU's Common Agricultural Policy, and airports managing the aeronautical data and information quality mandate. Let's take a closer look now at SmartNet and see how it works. SmartNet is a network of permanent GNSS receivers whose combined data is used to generate RTK corrections for GNSS devices such as Zeno Collector. You can see the location of the SmartNet stations in Ireland to the right on the screen. SmartNet works by Zeno Collector and the network of SmartNet stations communicating with a common set of satellites. The SmartNet server resolves any errors between the two and sends correction data back to Zeno Collector over the network. Zeno Collector can then use that correction data to compute a centimeter accurate GNSS position. 10 years ago, RTK surveys typically involved 2 GPS receivers, a lot of batteries and cables, 2 radios, a tripod, a pole, and a backpack to carry it all. Today, with Zeno Collector, you can access the SmartNet network over a mobile data connection to work with RTK corrections in the field, instead of setting up your own base station, saving you time and money. So number 3 on our list is ergonomics. It's important that a mobile data capture device is comfortable to use. When field workers are using such a device for extended periods of time outdoors, ergonomics are important for occupational health reasons. Zeno Collector is lightweight, coming in at around 800 grams. When you consider how much technology is packed into the device, this is some achievement. The screen of Zeno Collector is 4.7 inches in size and is sunlight readable. When I was in Ireland last week with the Leica road shows, we were blessed with some incredible weather, and the screen was certainly no problem to read during the outdoor demonstrations. The screen is capacitive, so you can choose to use either your finger or a stylus to operate it. The glass used for the screen is the same make as that used on the Sony Xperia smartphones and is extremely durable and scratch resistant. The benefits to organisations of having a well-designed and ergonomic device are that field workers will be more productive as they can use the device in comfort for longer. It will also help to keep the workforce happy, something that is very important and can often be overlooked. So number 4, we've got ruggedness. As with all Leica instruments, Zeno Collector is a very rugged device. These images show some of the tests the hardware was put through during testing, being baked in an oven, having the hard keys pressed thousands of times, and being submerged in water. Pretty serious stuff. The IP rating of the device is 67, which means it's totally impervious to dust and can be submerged up to 1 meter of water for 30 minutes. The device is also drop tested from 1.2 meters onto a wooden floor on top of concrete on each side. The operating temperature of Zeno Collector is from minus 30 degrees centigrade to plus 60 degrees centigrade. I don't think we'll have any problems in Ireland with that one. All of these tests means that you can benefit from having a tough device that can be used outdoors in all weathers and in difficult environments. You can work in more locations for longer periods of time, and you don't have to worry about having expensive repair bills. Also, you reduce the amount of field workers' downtime that occurs if repairs were to be carried out. So finally, on the hardware side, we're going to look at battery life. So if you have ever used a GPS for any length of time on your smartphone or tablet, you will know that it drains the battery very quickly. Zeno Collector has a very large lithium-ion battery, which means you can expect between 6 to 8 hours of battery life from one charge. 6 hours would be achieved when using SmartNet for prolonged periods of time and having the screen brightness high, for example. 8 hours would be achieved when using Zeno Collector more sensitively, putting the screen to sleep when not needed, and activating SmartNet for shorter periods of time. The battery will charge from 0 to 100% in 5 hours and is hot swappable. This means if you have a fully charged spare battery to hand, you can put the device into hot swap mode. A small internal battery will take over, keeping the device and GNSS antenna switched on. You can then take out the empty battery and put in the fully charged one without interrupting your work. This means you can work twice as long. Let's move on now to see how you can extend the operation of Zeno Collector. So Zeno Collector can be extended from its handheld form to be used in conjunction with a detail pole and external antenna for further performance enhancements. The detail pole enables the external antenna to be raised up to 2 meters off the ground. This is very effective as it is above the field worker's head and is less obstructed, seeing more of the sky, and therefore providing a more stable GNSS position. When working in urban areas or near trees, these benefits are very apparent. The point on the detail pole is also useful when accuracy is crucial. In its handheld form, the GNSS position from the internal antenna on Zeno Collector comes from just above the Leica logo on the top part of the device. As the position is dependent on where you are holding the device, using a pole means that you know wherever the point of the pole is on the ground, that's where your position will be measured. We'll now have a quick look at the Zeno Connect software on board the device. So Zeno Connect is the software that runs in the background on Zeno Collector and streams the GNSS position into Collector app. This is the same for any Android app that has a location dot. So for example, if you were running Google Maps on the device, you would have a centimeter accurate position in Google Maps if using the SmartNet service. The beauty of Zeno Connect is that you don't have to worry about it. The application starts and stops as soon as the antenna is activated or deactivated from the main Android settings. You don't have to fiddle around with any connection settings like you would have to in Windows. It just works. Let's now have a look at Zeno Connect and Collector app working in the field with a short video. Right, okay, so what we can see here is the main home screen of the Zeno 20. And what has just come down from the top of the screen there is Zeno Connect. So you can just swipe it down with your finger from the top of the screen. And we can see on the status bar that we've got a positional accuracy estimated at 2.7 meters. We're talking to a total number of satellites of 12, so that's the sigma symbol. And we're talking to 7 GPS satellites at the moment. What we'll see later on is that G will turn into an R, and that'll be the number of GLONASS satellites we're talking to. So I can move Zeno Connect away by swiping it to the top of the screen, and we'll go ahead and load up Collector app. So this is the same map that Mikey had open earlier, so it's the Esri Island Leica webinar map. And this is me using the map over in the UK. So obviously the blue dot is my position. I can zoom in. And again, I can pull down from the top of the screen the Zeno Connect bar. So we're at 2.33 meters. So what I'm going to show you is how we connect up to SmartNet to improve the accuracy. So you'll see the globe icon there, second from the right, and I'm going to press that, and because we have a mobile data connection, we can see that our accuracy is improved. So we press the button. Very quickly it will move down to about 30 centimeters. There we go. And then 3 centimeters. So we're now fully connected up to SmartNet. So what I'm going to do is measure 2 lampposts to the right of this path we can see, moving south, and then measure 2 lampposts to the left of the path. And this path is only about 1.5 meters wide, so it gives you a good example of how the accuracy can benefit you. So I'm just tapping in some attributes here, nice and simple. I'm using the current date. So that's our first point done to the right of the path. So the video is going to speed up now, and I'm walking south, collecting another lamp. So we've got 3 lamps now, putting in the 4th and final one at 3 centimeters. So we've got 4 lampposts, two to the right of the path, 2 to the left. What I'm going to do now is actually measure a line. So I'm pretending this is a cable under the ground. So I'm going to pick out category 1 there, which is a line field. And I'm going to check my collect settings. So what this enables me to do is specify the required accuracy of my measurements and also the streaming interval. So I think 2 meters is actually the best you can get in Collector, and we're obviously measuring to a much greater accuracy than that at the moment at 2 or 3 centimeters. But the streaming interval is going to allow me to measure a line and drop a vertice on the map every 2 seconds. So we'll just have a look at that now. So I've got my line field selected, calling it cable 1, and I'm going to tap stream in the bottom left hand of the screen once I'm back on the map. So I can now walk northwards along the centre of that path, and it's going to drop the vertices on the map for me. And again, the video will speed up to save a bit of time. I'm checking the accuracy as I go along. I finalise my feature, and there we have it. So we can see that we've got two lampposts to the right of the path, 2 lampposts to the left of the path, and I've gone back up the path, down the centre, measuring a line, and we can see that everything's lined up very well, bearing in mind that path's really only about 1.5 meters in width. So that's it from me. I'm now going to hand over to Mikey, and he's going to explain a little bit more about setting up data schemas in ArcGIS Online.
That was really interesting, Alex. Thanks very much for that. So I mentioned earlier that one of the features of Collector is that it can track your location, and we've actually been tracking the location of myself and Alex for the last while, and I just wanted to give you a look at that. So I have a layer in this map here, and it's called Location Tracking Layer, and it shows all the locations over the past week that we've been. So you can see there's our Esri Ireland offices are on the Navan Road in Dublin. We were at City West there at the Leica Roadshow last week, and Alex was up in Cork as well with the Leica Roadshow, and then obviously over in London where Alex was collecting his data. So what's interesting about this is that we can compare the differences between the points that I collected and the points that Alex collected. So Alex was collecting his on the Zeno Collector, and what this layer can show is the accuracy at which these points were collected. So I'm going to show all the data associated with these. So a lot of them I'm the editor of a lot of them, but if I sort by the editor, Alex will come to the top, and you'll notice the accuracy here gets a lot more accurate. So it's 0.02 as opposed to, you know, between 10 and 65 for the points that I've collected. So this is just from the location tracking. I just wanted to mention that before we move on. Okay, so you've seen how Collector works, but how do you actually set it up? How do you get it going? How do you set up your own data schemas? That's what I'm going to go through now. And there's 3 main steps to that. The first is to create create a layer, and so this layer will contain the attributes that you want to associate with your spatial data. The second thing to do is add this to a web map. So what a web map is, for those of you familiar with ArcMap, it's similar to an MXD file. You basically store references to layers. These layers can be points, lines, or polygons, and it's a web map, so everything is online and accessible on the web. The third thing you have to do then is, if you're going to share it with other people in your organization, you're going to create a group and share it with that particular group. So you can have multiple groups within your organization for different types of employees. So like an engineer might need different things than a GIS analyst who's out in the field. They might need to see different data. So I'm going to just give you a quick run through of how you can set up your own schemas, from the easiest to the more complex ways of doing it. The easiest way to do it is to create a feature layer in ArcGIS Online. So you do that by going to the My Content tab and clicking Create Feature Layer. And in here you'll notice a lot of different templates that you can use. And so you can, like, if you're doing particular different things, you can look at these and see if these cater for your needs. They may not. They may give you ideas on what kind of data you actually want to collect as well. So they can be good to run through. One of the things in here as well is the location tracking layer. So if you want to track the location of your workers or your field employees, you add this layer to your map. So I'm going to create a new feature layer that is going to track the location of our workers. So I'm just going to follow the various different steps that are going through, and this is going to be my field crew location tracker. So this is going to create a layer that's going to be accessible from the cloud. You can just have that yourself, and you can share it with groups within your organization, or publicly, depending on what way, what kind of data is in it and who you want to share it with. I'm going to create one more feature layer from a template, and I'm going to create the field notes because I know this one has point, line, and polygon layers in it. Going to call this field crew data collection, and so this is going to do the same thing. And we'll have a look at that now on a map just to see what it looks like. So that's the first part. What we've done is we've created a layer, and this is stored as a content item within ArcGIS Online. So if I go into my content, I can see those two feature layers that I've created. Now I have other things in here that I've created myself. The operations view was what we looked at earlier when I was adding points via collector. So that gives you a real-time view of it, and the web map was just something else I was looking at for this webinar. It was the map that we looked at through the trial version of collector. So the first part, as I mentioned, was to create a layer when you're setting up collector. So we've created that layer now, and we just want to add them to a map. Next part is add it to a map. So I've added one layer. So this is my field crew location tracker. So once I have this within my collector map, it's going to track the location of my workers. Now what I want to do is add in the other layers that I've created. So I'm going to search my content and I have my field crew data collection layer that I want to add. Now within this layer there's 3 sub-layers. So we have points, lines and polygons. So there's 3 different types of 3 different layers being added into the web map. So once I'm happy with my map, I can save it, and I can call this field crew map. So I'll save that map, and obviously at the moment we've no layers, we've no data in the map itself, so we can access this through Collector. But the third thing we have to do is share it with the people who are going to use it. So at the moment it's just shared privately with one account that I'm logged in with, but you can also share it with the group. Now this is a group that we set up between myself and Alex to share data. Okay, so my map is set up now. I've shared it with the group and I have my layers added to it. So now I'll be able to access this through Collector. So I'll go back to my phone here. I'll open up Collector and another map should appear now. And there it is. So there's the field crew map and I can open that and add in data. So that again has zoomed to my current location and I can add in any of the point data. Now you can see these have, there's a particular symbology associated with these and it depends on the category. So we can edit this in Collector or in ArcGIS Online if we go into the Edit tab. So I'm going to click Edit up here in the top left hand corner and then click Manage. And in here we have, this is the points layer that we just looked at in Collector. So these points here are the same as here. So we can edit these, the category names if we want. But in this case I'm just going to edit this particular category and I'm going to add some values to this feature so that we don't have to add in the same values multiple times. So I'm going to put in my name and my location and the current date. And click Done. I'll save the changes and save the map. And now I'll run back to Collector. I'll go back to my map and refresh it. So I'm reloading the map. It's going to zoom to my location again, and when I click Add Category 1, there's the notes that I've just added in for that particular point layer. So I can submit that and we'll have a point on our map. So there's the point that's just been synced online. So there's the attributes that are associated with that, and it shows the user that has last edited that particular feature. Okay, so there's one or two things then. If I go back to my content, there's one or two things that you might want to change. So I'm going to open my web map layer and my web map and my layer. So this is my web map, and I can edit this web map. And if you scroll down to the bottom to see the properties of the web map, this is where you can edit capabilities that are enabled within Collector. So if you want to disable the measuring tool, the routing tool, if you don't want people to be able to change base maps, you can edit all that here, as well as the find locations. So if you don't want people to be able to search by address, you want to be able to search by one particular layer, say the name of a particular layer, you can add that in here. Now you can search by address as well if you want. And as well as that, once you have the location tracking layer added to your web map, you'll have this option here to track the location. So this has to be enabled in order for this to work. By default it's set to 5 minutes, but you can change that as needs be. Then in each of the layer maps, one of the things that can trip people up sometimes is enabling attachments. But this is always done, well, it can either be done in ArcMap, which we'll have a look at later, and it's actually set up on this one already. But if attachments hasn't been enabled, you can enable it here. So this is what allows you to add pictures and videos to your data. Okay, so we've used one of the templates in ArcGIS Online, but in a lot of cases you're going to have your own precise data that you want to collect, and you're going to have specific data schemas that you want to set up. And there's a couple of different ways you can do that. The first one is through the developers website. So if you go to developers.arcgis.com and log in, you'll see this layers tab in the top right hand corner. If you click in there, you can create a new layer, and I'll say field crew. I'll just add in some metadata about the layer, and you can select the geometry type, so obviously points, lines, or polygons. So I'll select points, and you can add in your fields and your attributes that are going to be associated with your spatial data. So let's say we have a name, that's going to be a string, it's going to be required, you can add that, and you can add in as many attributes as you want. So you can add in dates, floats, which are decimals, integers or strings as you need to. And then you have this option here that allows that layer to be viewed, edited, and synchronized offline. So we're going to enable that and create the layer. So this will add that layer into your ArcGIS Online content. So it'll appear as an item in here. So once I refresh in here, that layer will appear. So there's the field crew layer that I just created. And you can look at the REST endpoint behind that as well. So if you click on the layer item here, the REST endpoint is here, and you can see the various fields that have been created with that. One other thing to note is you can edit your feature layers to determine what people can do with the features within that. So you mightn't want people to be able to delete features or update them. You might want them to be just able to add features. So there's an option to do that. There's an option for people to just update features. And you can also keep track of who created and last updated features, and also lock it down so only they can update the features that they created. No one else can edit those. Okay, so the third way of creating data schemas then is through Server 123. So I've downloaded Server 123 Connect. So you can get that from server123.com/download. I can send out this link in an email afterwards, but you can get the Server 123 Connect there. And this allows you to create your own data schemas. Now, Server 123 is a different application than Collector, and it is different functionality than Collector, but the underlying technology behind it is the same, and it just gives a nice interface to create data schemas with. So I'm going to create a new survey, give it a title, and create a survey. And this is going to open up an Excel file for me. And through that Excel file, I can configure what kind of fields I want to collect. So the type of field, this is similar to in the developer account, except there's a couple of more options. But let's say we want a drop-down menu. You can use the select one option to do this. And I'm just going to call this categories. So I want this to appear as a drop down. So I'm going to go into this choices worksheet, delete the stuff that's in there already, and create a list for myself. So anything within here is going to be it's going to appear in the drop down. Just create two categories. I know we're getting close to the time there. So once I have that done, I can save it, and Server 123 Connect will convert this into a data schema and display it in a Server 123 format. But what I can do is publish this to ArcGIS Online. So if I publish in here, I can log in. And now I can publish this survey, and it'll publish the data schema that I've defined through this. And this appears the same way. It will appear within your ArcGIS Online content items. And it'll actually create a folder. So you'll have an extra folder here. It'll be called survey dash the name of your survey. And within there you'll have a feature layer. So it's the exact same as what you set up for using Collector. Now the last thing I want to do is just briefly show you what it looks like through ArcMap or ArcGIS Pro. And this gives you the most functionality. So if you want to do very complex things with your schema, you do it through ArcGIS Pro or ArcMap. But you can actually download your existing layers. So if you create some of your layers using the developer tools or one of the templates in ArcGIS Online, you can use one of them and export them as a file geo database. And this will, export it as a file geo database. But you have an option there to export as a shapefile, and this will include all the data within this feature layer. And once you have that, then you can look at it through ArcGIS Pro or ArcMap. And in this case here, we downloaded the location tracking layer. And so you can see it's a point layer, and these are the fields that are associated with it. So there's various different things you can do there. You can add in domains, fields, subtypes. Now we won't go into the domains are pretty much just drop downs. Subtypes give you the ability to pre-populate fields, similar to what we did with the templates. And the fields are just the fields that you can edit, attribute fields. So on that, I think that's all for myself. We have a minute to finish up. So Alex, I think, is going to do a bit of a wrap-up.
Yeah, thanks very much, Mikey. Some good stuff in there. So just a really brief summary of what we've been through today then. So we started off by looking at using Collector on the iPhone and doing some disconnected editing when we didn't have a mobile data connection. We then moved on to look at Zeno Collector and the hardware side of things, so seeing how we can leverage Zeno Connector to get a centimetre accurate position within Collector app. Then we looked at some of the location tracking, which I particularly enjoyed. Mikey spying on me while I was roaming around the UK, and comparing some of the accuracies between the iPhone and Zeno Collector. Then we moved on to looking at making some content on ArcGIS Online, creating new data schemas, and then we finished up just there with using Survey 123. So yeah, we covered quite a lot today. We'll be sending through an email with our contact details for both Mikey and myself, so please get in touch with us afterwards if you can't stick around for questions. We'll also be putting in a link to a YouTube video of the entire webinar, so you can watch that back as you wish. So yeah, if you've got some questions, please send them through and we'll try and answer them for you right now.
Okay, so we're just going to have a quick look at some of these questions on the webinar. Just give us 2 or 3 minutes or a minute or two to look through them. So one of the questions is, can I sync this to an Oracle spatial database rather than using ArcGIS Online? And the answer is yes. So you can set up an ArcGIS server within an Oracle spatial database, and add that in as a layer. We can register it in ArcGIS Online as a layer and then edit it through Collector. Another question is, how far in can one zoom? This depends on the base map that you're using. So there's only a certain degree you can only zoom in as far as the base map caters for. So I think it relies on the underlying base map as to how far you can zoom.
There's one question about the cost of Zeno Collector. So we'd be very happy to talk about pricing. Best thing to do would be to get in touch with myself afterwards. Reason being that there's different configurations. We explained about different frequencies of antenna, etc., and different augmentations using SmartNet, etc., to improve the accuracy. So if you're able to get in touch with me afterwards, I'll be more than happy to talk about the cost of Zeno Collector.
Yeah, and just on that, we will be sending out an email afterwards, and we'll cover all the questions that have been asked during the webinar. But yeah, so we're actually getting a couple more in there here as well. Do you answer that?
Yeah, there's a question come in saying, can Zeno Collector be hired or leased? And the answer to that is yes, it certainly can. So normally you would be able to hire Zeno Collector on a weekly basis. And again, if you want to talk about costs of doing that, then please get in touch and we can advise you. But you can certainly hire Zeno Collector if that's beneficial to you.
And we have another question there. Can you set up Collector outside the organization for, say, members of the public to report issues? Typically, you wouldn't use Collector for something like that. We have web applications that you can access, such as the GeoForm, and this is something that you can use for public, so you can share it publicly, and anyone can add data to it. But you wouldn't typically use a Collector for that because they'd have to download Collector and log into it, and it's not exactly what Collector is meant for. But there's products out there that cater for that within the platform. So if you have any further questions on that, just you can get in touch. I have another question then. Is it possible to save multiple location base maps for offline use? And can this be done for an ArcGIS Online organization account? Yeah, so everything I did, I think all you needed was an ArcGIS Online subscription. Apart from if you're doing anything through ArcGIS Pro or ArcMap, you need those first. But you can save multiple location-based maps. I think for each web map, you can just store one location. So you can store a particular location that you want to go to. But if you were to save the same web map a couple of times, you could save 5 or 6 different locations and download the base maps and feature data schemings for them. So with that, I think we'll wrap up. We will answer all the questions that have been asked in a follow-up email, but we're getting tight for time here, and Alex has to catch a plane at 5 o'clock. So thanks to everyone for joining. It's been very interesting to work with Alex, and thanks a lot to him again.
No problem.
And yeah, we'll leave it at that. So thanks to everyone for joining us, and we will talk to you all soon.